Also hearing from some of the first responder teams that were on scene that night helping.
Northern News Now's Kyrie Johnson continuing our team coverage heard from the St. Louis County Emergency Management Team about how their work impacts all of the other departments that responded.
The explosion in Hermantown over the weekend triggered a massive response from law enforcement and emergency crews. At the center of all that coordination was the St. Louis County Emergency Management Team. They coordinated efforts between first responders and the community. Josh Brinkman was one of the first people on scene on Saturday night, assessing the damage and forming plans around a dozen different responding departments. He says that his job might seem simple, but is absolutely critical.
We have to be able to coordinate with each other, work really closely, is trying to bridge any of those gaps. If we see any gap in communication flow, trying to step in and put a system in place to help alleviate that role for our first responders.
And that's exactly what the emergency management team did. They relocated affected community members and their emergency operations center to Hermantown City Hall, a move he called necessary.
Having that in-person connection with folks is really good too, because they're seeing that we're just people on the other end, and so are they, and we can see those people that have been drastically affected by a serious situation like this.
Brinkman said despite resolving the immediate danger, it's important for people to understand that the recovery doesn't end when first responders leave the scene.
For the folks who lost quite a bit of their personal belongings, this recovery process might be months, and then obviously the folks who lost loved ones, this recovery process is going to be years.
The incident is still under investigation by the state fire marshal. We'll continue to bring you information as we learn it. In Hermantown, Kyrie Johnson, Northern News Now.
And community members have set up a donation box at the North Star Ford Arena. People are welcome to drop off gift cards and cash, which will then be distributed to the victims.